The Library of Victorious Living by Edwin J. Dingle, Ding Le Mei. Volume 1, Evolution Series Number 1, The Ethereal Kingdom, The Secret of Victorious Living. This is the first of 50 little books that will solve for you the whole riddle of your universe. As you listen, I will speak to you. But it is my hope that you will see that though I am speaking, it is the real you, your own higher self, that truly speaks. May you be inclined to listen. For no matter who you are, no matter what your personal problems may be, these little books will set you safely on the path to their complete solution. All that is asked is that you be sincere and fearlessly honest in your reading, your listening, your study. Though the instructions given for the use of any instrument could not be more clear, merely listening to them does not guarantee that you will be able to efficiently use the instrument. You have to learn how to use it. You will probably find ideas in these little books that are new to you. Because of this, you shouldn't turn away. Rather, should you pull the ideas apart by fairly criticizing them without prejudice, thinking about them, and by trying to replace them. You may have to listen again, you may have to go over certain passages more than once. Therefore, be patient with yourself. Develop the habit of listening to your own higher self, to the great unity within you, to your own God. Then, even if the words in this little book do not instantly register themselves as the voice of the living truth of life within you, true enlightenment is bound to flow to you in exact relation to your own evolutionary development to receive. You and I know that the human race is passing through one of the darkest periods of its history. No part of the world, not even the hitherto isolated Tibet on the roof of the world, has escaped the impact of the international struggle. Man had become inordinately proud of what he called his amazing civilization. But something happened. 2 world wars came with their unspeakably diabolical horror, and wars of a different nature combine in increasing intensity. Wherever we look, we see individuals, we see nations, we see the whole human race suffering from an uneasiness and fear which nothing seems to be able to remove. It is a kind of anesthesia which, certainly in all Occidental countries, has come in the wake of a stupefying mechanical progress that began 5 or 6 decades ago. Wherever we look, we read fear in the hearts and minds of human beings. Man is afraid of his own astounding mechanical progress. One nation is afraid of another. And perhaps all nations, many nations, linked together in what is believed to be sincerity, are haphazardly endeavoring to find the solution of what should be the simplest human problem. Not alone in the United States, but in many Occidental countries and some Oriental countries, though their standards differ very widely. The progress on the material side of civilization has kept man in almost breathless expectation of the next mechanical or industrial miracle. This worship of materialism became the alpha and omega of human living. With few exceptions, in the various countries of the earth, most human beings worshipped the mammon of the material results of science and invention, believing that here lay the solution to all problems of man's boasted civilization. As this brilliant panorama of invention after invention continued, men everywhere came to believe that the making and the possession of things was their infallible answer. There was consequently no time or inclination to consider man's true problems, the human problems of men everywhere, no matter what race or color. So there came among men a real disease of reason, and as we look around the world today, we find the seductive wealth of materialism being worshipped by the scientists, technicians, and, mostly unfortunately, by the masses. With only a comparative sprinkling of advanced thinking, men and women who, though perhaps almost paralyzed with skepticism as to the future of the human race, believe in the divinity of man on this earth. It is obvious to anyone who thinks that this condition of the world today is because men do not know enough of the thing that is, which men call God. Among the churches, there goes on a campaign to get men and women back to God. But, and I say this with deep solemnity, it seems to me that the teaching of the churches has not run parallel with the unfoldment of God's will through science. By science, I mean a knowledge of God's works. By religion, I mean a knowledge of what actually is God. God is completely revealed only in His law, by what He has done. And again, I speak most solemnly, if what is called Christ's gospel, as the Church has taught it and exemplified it, can produce no better than the prevailing conditions in our present world, then something must be lacking. The world condition, you know it and I know it, couldn't be much worse if Jesus the Christ had never lived or taught His sublime and final way. And to you, my dear reader, I would say that if you are satisfied with your own life and with present prevailing world conditions, you should not waste your time by listening any further. But if you feel, as I'm sure you do, that there exists some new method of bringing about what may be called man's salvation, that you recognize that you have your own responsibility in helping to bring a great world change to humanity, and if you feel that your own heart and mind are filled with a righteous discontent, then I feel that you may find something of true helpfulness to you in these little books. I hope that you are able definitely and convincingly and finally to say to yourself that you know that there is nothing but God. That being so, what are you? It is my hope that in the contemplation and the practice of axioms unfolded in these little books, you will be able to finally discover with your heart that, whatever the Creator is, I am. If you will merely contemplate these 6 words in silence, I am sure that even without a knowledge of the precepts which I shall unfold to you in this and 49 other little books in this library of victorious living, you will be able to realize something of their scope and power. Whatever the Creator is, I am. This is life's greatest secret. Part 1. The true secret of a victorious life. Now, in the consideration of the secret of victorious living, it is necessary for us to know just what we may be able to expect of ourselves. To what degree have we the equipment, and how may we become capable of being truly victorious in life? Therefore, you must enter into an analysis of yourself in which you do not err. During the next few pages, I shall quote from the documentary lessons of the Initiate Group Course of Mental Physics, which has its title, The Holy of Holies. I can go back to my study in Oakland, California, and I again look out upon the eucalyptus trees waving in the breeze, and I can see the San Francisco Bay sparkling in the sunshine. I shall never forget the extreme liquidity of the beauty of that morning. I seemed to be within myself, creative spirit, the spirit of creation, the thing that is, that knows, And it is within the oyster doing its work through the oyster. It is the same with everything in life, is it not? With the apple tree, the oyster, a puppy, a man, a woman, everything. A human being is the only thing that can make a human being. Every living thing is the only thing that has the power to reproduce itself and continue the stream of life that flows everywhere through the universe unceasingly. I say, the creative spirit within the acorn knows exactly how to make the giant oak tree. We're sure of that, are we not? Don't argue with yourself. Are you sure? As we look at this creativeness, this creative spirit, this thing that does the work, this thing that does the thinking, this thing that has the energy, this something that you may call by any name whatsoever, we can see that it is always at work. And as we look upon it, we see three things or three phases of its nature of power. First, we can see that it is intelligent. It never makes a pear where an apple should be. It never makes a carrot where an onion should be, and so on and so on. Through the countless chapters in the great book of nature, it is wise. It always knows how. It is the master. It is the root of all know-how. Second, we can see that it is everywhere present. There is no place where it is not. You cannot imagine it not being everywhere. Third, we can see that it has the power to do all things. It has the power to do all things. Things that you do, it does. Things that you cannot do, it can do. You and I have to learn to watch when we cannot do a thing, how it does the thing. It has the power to do all things, to make the apple, to make the oyster, to make the oak, to make the human being, to make all things in the universe. B. How the creativeness works. Perhaps you've never thought of life in this way before. I confess that I hadn't until in faraway Tibet many years ago, and it was very wonderful to me. It was brought to my attention somewhat in this way. We may think a long time or a short time over what I have said, but finally we shall be compelled to admit that these three words therefore appear. They emerge. They evolve. If we are wise and restful, we shall be able to see them at once. First, omniscience, omniscience. You know the meaning of the word, the faculty of knowing everything, knowledge unbounded, knowledge infinite, knowledge of everything we have ever discovered or uncovered anywhere, knowledge of that which we do not know, from the atom to the sun, from the merest movement of the jellyfish far down in the slime to atomic power, which today men largely fear. Beyond that even, omniscience. Second, omnipresence, meaning present in one and all places at the same time. It is difficult to imagine that because our knowledge is so slight, but our imagination will help us. No matter what we can imagine of what we call the universe, either within ourselves or without ourselves, it is present. If it were not, you simply would not be. Omnipresence. Third, omnipotence, power. Just think of power. Have you ever played with a magnet? Have you ever driven an automobile? Have you ever been in love? Have you ever done anything where you could see the effect of power? Well, this is all the power. Unlimited, infinite power, almighty power, omnipotence. So you see these three things, omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotence, are everywhere in the universe. There is not a single embodiment of life, from the minute of the minutest to the greatest of the great, in which they are not existent. Omniscience, all knowledge, all of it. Omnipresence, all presence everywhere. Omnipotence, all power, unlimited and infinite. Now I suggest that you pause the recording, contemplate your own life. You are to learn how you may lead yourself into the secret of victorious living, true victory in your life. See the origin of all things. Now, my beloved, these three comprise one. These three comprise a triune activity, a threefold activity, and this threefold activity, completely dependent and interdependent, forms the one, which is the origin of all things. This, it, call it what you will, is the origin of all things. I am endeavoring to very simply place before you this beautiful truth. It could, of course, be presented to you in much more learned phraseology. Even I could do that, but in many words we always find increasing confusion. You must get your idea of it for you, and I must for me. If you cannot feel it, if at this instant you cannot feel that this is true, if you cannot, looking within your own heart, say, with gratitude overflowing within you and with humility keeping you down to the lowest degree of self-effacement, that you are God in human form, then wait, try and reason it out for yourself. You will find that you will be compelled to come to the same conclusion. But to reason a thing out merely to get an intellectual comprehension of it is entirely different from a spiritual realization of it. You can feel your imagination at work, can you not? Or you may have thought about this creativeness, this something that I am talking about, that is universal, somewhat in this way before. But I shall not quarrel with you if you do not see what I am trying to expound. If you do, you will see that God, I do not care whether you're a Roman Catholic or a Christian Scientist, or if you're an atheist or a Parsi or a Hindu, what I am, although I do not know what I am no thing, but no matter what you are, you will see that the God that you've always visualized, even from infancy, whether as a being up in some nebulous place called heaven or in any other manner, is really the creative principle everywhere, equally present. And consequently, it can be known. It can come to be known by you infinitely more intimately than a father knows his son. Then you see, we come to know, we come to feel, we come to see that my God is where I am. I am my God. Then you see, we discover that created man and the Creator are not detached. Man and God are one. Then you see, we come to know that I and my Father are one, which means the same thing. They are not separate entities. That which we call God, that which we have many names for, is within us, within you, within me. God, the creative spirit, the infinite wisdom, Jehovah, the first cause, the supreme architect, many, many names. The Father in heaven, the one that is made up of this triune principle, omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotence, and it is within us. The command of the one great teacher is, "Seek ye first that," and he called it the kingdom of heaven. Now, I trust that the light of this tremendous truth will flood your mind as you read. You will see that you feel. You will feel that you see, that you have discovered the very basic fact of all existence. To know it thoroughly is to have solved the riddle of the universe. We in mental physics do know it thoroughly, for now we have the key. You will see that, in discovering this basic fact of all existence, you have discovered the greatest thing that any man can know, even greater than the source or origin or even the power of atomic power. It is the greatest thing that any man can know, because knowing it perfectly, all things are possible to him. You will see that as you contemplate this profound truth, you are leading yourself into the mystery of mysteries, into the holy of holies. You are leading yourself right into the heart of God, and you have every right to be there. It is at once the greatest truth that can be taught by any teacher or learned by any student. Some initiates, by a sudden flash of intuition, will see and realize this profound truth in a moment. Others may have to toil and wait for its realization. But what does it matter? We get exactly what we are ready for. We get exactly what is ours. Well, if you have to toil and wait, then toil and wait. But mark this well. Unless this great truth comes to you intuitionally, clear through to your consciousness by the light of your own divine intuition, there is only one way to get it. Not by sitting down and reasoning it out, not by getting pencil and paper and drawing graphs and entering actively into the phases of mathematics. No, there is only one way. By going into the silence, by being still, by going into your own heart and saying, "O Lord, whose face I cannot see, whose love within me, open my heart," and wait. It is as sure as people believe in the rising sun to be. It is exactly what causes the sun to rise, and yet the sun never rises. The sun always is. An intellectual conception. Now, my beloved, if you cannot fully realize this truth so that you feel you are on fire with the joy that it brings, let us contemplate it in another way. Let us contemplate it in an intellectual way. Let me be as your college professor. I do not know what sort of a college professor I would make, but still let us try to reason this out. We can all, I'm sure, feel to some degree that it is a possibility. Many of us, we give thanks, feel that we know, and we know that we feel it to be true. Let us reason it out. Are you or are you not a part of the universe? Well, obviously you are. The answer is yes, I am. Can the universe be complete without all its parts? Well, can anything be complete without all its parts? Obviously, the answer is no, it cannot. Therefore, without you, do not think of anything or anybody else. Can it be complete? Oh, I know what you are thinking. It is the same as I am thinking. I am not worthy. But in cold logic, can it be complete without you? The answer is no. That is categorical. Therefore, its completeness literally depends upon you. Is it true? Is it not? Therefore, without you, it cannot exist in its completeness. Obviously, again, the answer is no, it cannot. Then can you say, you figure it out in all truth. Because of this, because the universe cannot be complete without me, because I am a vital part of it, I, existing as I am, stand to this universe as a center does to a circle. In this case, I am the center. Now get that. Are you the center of your own world? Are you the center of mine? No. Get out. There's no place for the two of us. You can truthfully say, I am the center of my world. You are the center of your world. You are, therefore, the center of your universe. The circumference is everywhere. Without a center, no circumference can exist. Remembering all that, we can see that the Creator is, first, all the knowledge there is, omniscience. Second, all the presence there is, omnipresence. And third, all the power, all the force there is, omnipotence. F. The Creator is all that there is. As nothing can exist outside of the all, remember our references to the universe, it is the all, and nothing can exist outside of the all, we arrive quite logically, do we not, right now, at the wonderful knowledge that the Creator, God, the creative spirit, the supreme architect, anything that you care to call it, that is all that there is. There is nothing else. Oh, but God is up above in some nebulous place called heaven. Well, go thy way, thy time will come. But when we get away from the difficulty of nomenclature and the nonsense of using many words, the idea in its supreme light shines out. God is all that there is. Well, you yourself are God. The Creator is all that there is. Now carry the idea one step further, remembering what we have said, and you can truthfully affirm, since the Creator is all that there is, since I am the center and the circumference is everywhere, I am the Creator. I am the Creator? Oh yes, how am I the Creator? Well, I am the Creator of my universe, which is the all that there is to me. Not as a worm crawling on the earth, but I am the Creator, a human being made in the image. I am the Creator in human form, and I create my world by God's thought through me. Let us carry the idea another step, and we arrive at the most stupendous truth that can ever be known, since all human knowledge in some way is derived from it. You can now truthfully affirm, therefore, whatever the Creator is, I am. Part 2. The evolutionary principle explained. Whatever the Creator is, I am. Let us now consider the way of what men call God. In what you may visualize as the great beginning, all was still. It was a kingdom of stillness. In mental physics, we call this the ethereal kingdom. I invite you then to consider the ethereal kingdom, the first of the 7 kingdoms which make up what we may call God's universe, God's complete expression. Well, now you can see how fully equipped you are to enter upon the secrets of victorious living. You will agree with me that it is an axiom of logic that the final cause is the end for which everything exists. You exist, I exist, for the final cause, whatever it is. The reason we do is because we are on our way through infinite development and evolution to God's absolute intelligence. That is the first and final precept in mental physics, and until the aspirant learns this truth, that man is God in human form, He has not yet prepared himself for the realization of this finality of all truth. We look about us and we see that you and I stand, as it appears, between A, the universe without us, and B, the universe within us. Man has to discover what he is in actuality, and whether he studies A, the universe without, or B, the universe within, he must finally learn that what he is seeking is within himself. Though he finds himself continually beset with dangers in accepting appearances or realities and vice versa. In looking even most cursorily upon the outer universe, we see that things are never what they seem to be. Look up to the heavens and you see many things, the sun by day, the moon and the stars by night. Then we look at the earth beneath our feet, and by comparison with its apparent enormity, the sun, which looks only about the size of a dinner plate, and the moon, appearing to be not much bigger than a bread plate, seems to be of much less importance than our earth. And as for the great stars, they all appear to be merely insignificant bodies. The sun and the moon can even be hidden from our view by passing clouds, and the greatest of the stars at best seem mere twinkling points of light. Not only do these wonderful heavenly bodies appear to be relatively small, but men in all ages, almost down to our own, have believed them to be small. In the story of the creation in Genesis, after the earth had been created, God made two great lights in the sky above, the greater to rule the day and the lesser to rule the night. And then it was added, as if by some afterthought, God made the stars also. G. Man and his conception. But science has done much and will do very much more to show man, in both the universe without as the universe within, that things are not what they seem to be. Our earth, for example, is actually very small. Man looks out upon his home, this earth, and all things naturally take on a great importance for him. But we have only to think for a single moment to realize that this, to the uninitiated, apparently limitless planet on which we dwell, is merely like a particle of dust floating in the immensity of space, while our sun is a flaming mass of gas 1,000,000 times greater in volume than the earth. More astounding still, those tiny twinkling stars that we look at are in reality other suns, many greater than our own sun, whose glories are dimmed only by their enormous distances. Our Milky Way is a vast cosmic system of no less than 20,000 million stars. And upon a very large number of them, so large are they, hundreds of thousands of our Earth could be placed, with still room to spare, while here and there we come across stars so large that millions of Earths could be accommodated. Staggering facts, but they are facts. These facts should tend to remind you as a thinker of the grandeur of the cosmos, the grandeur of God's works, and more particularly of the order of this universe of which you are a part. I have already remarked that the final cause is the end for which everything exists. The absolute, God, is the final cause, and all things exist in God and because of God. Man ascends from things to ideas. God descends from ideas to things. As every thinking person will agree upon this, we can see, figuratively speaking, that in what we may call the great beginning, there was with God an enveloping condition or substance which was the basic sphere of all existence. In mental physics, we call it the Ethereal kingdom. It is the great enveloper, often known as the astral, whose light is called in the Sanskrit akasha, or ether. Ether, as you know, is the highest kind of matter. Ether differs from all other gross matter in not being subject to generation or corruption. Akasha is the subtle ether, whence the word we have read about exists. Akasha is within and without every action. It causes all action and causes all atoms to become. H. The home of universal silence. The ethereal kingdom, then, may be called the home of universal silence. It is the womb of all creation, of all life expression. It is composed of the essence of all matter. It is the kingdom or state or condition in which all existences come to have their being. As it is the kingdom of silence, in the ethereal kingdom there is no blundering. Its voice of the silence is the whisper of God, the Word. The temple of our purest thoughts is silence. The order of the cosmos, which means the order of your life, is contained in the ethereal kingdom, in God's silence. All existences are united in the cosmos in absolute order. The words that I am using, not because they are my words, contain a great depth of wisdom. That last sentence, all existences are united in the cosmos in absolute order. Think, the cosmos contains within itself 7 kingdoms, commencing with the ethereal and ending with the celestial. The form or nature of the ethereal kingdom is unchanging, eternal potentiality. Think of the amazing potentiality of life itself. The potentiality of the ethereal kingdom never changes. Its substance is everywhere, at one and all places at the same time, just as every living thing has spiritual existence in the intelligence at the height of all created beings, so every living thing has its material existence in the ethereal kingdom, the akasha upon which the whole macrocosm rests. But it is perhaps much more easy to comprehend intelligibly God's great universe as we consider the works of God in the without. Yet all the principles we can discover in the without are similarly discoverable in the within. Man is equally amazed at his discoveries of God's laws within himself as he contemplates, for example, the heavens and all their wonders. Every scientist, however, and we are all scientists, will readily admit that, though science has placed him on an eminence from which he can see very far beyond his horizon, there always lies a great and challenging unknown. In the consideration of the ethereal kingdom, we are at once led to the unchangeable order of the universe. In its order alone we find its secrets. As we shall go along together in these 50 little books, I trust that you may be able to enlighten yourself as you proceed from one kingdom to the next highest and to the varied unfolding phases of God's life in man and man's life in God. But without the basic belief, don't let me hurt your susceptibilities, that man is God in human form, irrevocably, categorically, unchangeably, you will not be able to proceed very satisfactorily. This is the basic tenet of mental physics, and becomes increasingly true and full of wonder to all students, yet it is not generally understood. This alone is the purpose of our teaching, of all teaching, to show man that he is divine, that he is a part of the effulgence of God's being, that he is God in human form. I must assume that you are a very sincere person and have a desire to learn. You are willing to learn. Had you sufficient patience and wisdom and love, you could take a single grain of sand, and when you came to the point that you could say, truthfully, that you completely and fully understood that grain of sand, then you would have nothing more to learn. You would have learned all that there is to learn. Now I have referred to the fact that the ethereal kingdom is the symbol of God's silence. Indeed, it is the kingdom of silence. It is, if you will allow the expression, the kingdom of the great beginning. Just as the average person in churchianity has been taught to believe in the final end, which he calls heaven, so we can see at the opposite pole, metaphorically, the great beginning. The ethereal kingdom is that from which all things proceed. The manner or the method by which they do so, or the one great force of the spirit of life which propels them, we will not speak of. But it is easy for us to see or to imagine one great eternal sphere. Within the sphere, all is absolute stillness. You may get your idea of stillness in any way that you wish. You may feel within you the vibration of love, all enveloping, complete, final, everywhere present. By that idea, you may get your idea of the ethereal kingdom. You may, if you wish, imagine everything that you know in the outer universe, in the heavens, on the earth, below the sea, no matter what your consciousness may be. And you can similarly apply that to the potentiality of the ethereal kingdom. All things have proceeded, do proceed, will proceed, because they must proceed from the ethereal kingdom. What you seek is within you. Now in this ethereal kingdom, all is complete. There is not one pinpoint of vacuum or vacuity or space. The substance of the ethereal kingdom is so fine, so subtle, that it is, so to speak, eternally packed together, that there is not one possibility of any space between to cause channels in the substance. It is complete. It is so complete, so full, that wherever what you might call a vibration takes place, which causes life to proceed, that vibration is within the substance of the ethereal kingdom. Within the substance. An illustration. You feel something. You feel happy. You feel light. You feel love. You feel. How do you feel? You look upon something, and it seems that that something that you look upon engenders the feeling that you have. But the feeling is within you. And it is conceivable that you could feel so much that you literally could give your life. The very thread of the spirit would break. So full do you become of the feeling that you have. Apply that to your idea of the ethereal kingdom. Out of its great silence, all things proceed. Now, how do they proceed? As you listen, ask yourself, what am I? Where did I come from? Where do I go? Why am I what I am? You look out in imagination upon the great concourse of the human family, the human race. There are not two human beings identical. Love seems to make us feel that we are identical, but love plays a very small part in the lives of most of us, though we are on our way. We are what we are because in the great beginning we came forth. Now, if you go into your garden and you turn up a stone, if you find some form of life, That low form of life is very different from the life that you understand to be your own. The consciousness, the thinking power, not process, of that thing that you find under the stone in your garden seems to be very different from the extremely accurate and subtle and beautiful and lively thought of your own mind. The thought, however, is the same. It is merely a matter of degree of vibration. And so in the long, dim past, you and I, not as definite entities as human beings, we had to earn that right, but what you and I began with emerged from out of the ethereal kingdom, and we were clad in all its glorious order. We had all, as we still have, all that is necessary to lead us through the whole of the kingdoms, from the ethereal kingdom to the celestial kingdom, from the lowest to the highest. And my beloved, the principles, the secrets, the substance, the nature, the potentiality of the ethereal kingdom is within thee now, within me now. All that we have passed through, the ethereal kingdom, the sidereal kingdom, the mineral kingdom, the vegetable kingdom, the animal kingdom, and the human kingdom, all is within us now. Can you see that all that there is what we are? We are all that there is. The ethereal kingdom is the great enveloping quality of God's being, silent, still, unspeakably fine and subtle, immaterial as God as immaterial. The ethereal kingdom is the great enveloping quality of God's being, silent, still, unspeakably fine and subtle, immaterial as God is immaterial. Out of its immateriality, all things proceed, and you can visualize the ethereal kingdom within your mind. Its silence, its immutability, its immovableness, its literal inability to any movingness. As we visualize this absolute glory of the silence, do we find the cause of and the essence of our own being, our own conscious resting? We all know that we are human beings, but at certain moments of great inspiration, we feel that we are even greater than we are. We feel that whilst we look around about us and we say that we live on the earth, we also are able to feel by this divine but rare intuition that comes to us that we live in a place or in a state of or a nature greater and higher than the earth. Men call it heaven. So we can see that as our consciousness expands, we take from all the kingdoms and we are the aggregate of all that has ever been. The isness of life is the product of the yesterdays and the tomorrows we are building now, and they will be the reflection of what our today is. J, you are the essential substance. Contemplate how utterly infinitesimal the earth is in relation to the great cosmos. We can see that if the earth be as it is, just like a tiny speck of dust in an interminable infinity of space, then what am I? A mere human being, one of a very vast number of human beings on this planet. But, my beloved, the glory of life is that we are not human beings. We are divine. We are of the essential substance, first of the ethereal kingdom, and then we pass from out the ethereal kingdom. The higher ones, the angels of wisdom, who have gone upon their journey and have successfully trodden the path, are eternally around us and within us, upholding us, protecting us against our flaws and faults that we might make to rob ourselves even more than we do of the sovereignty that comes from the essential substance of life in the ethereal kingdom. And then we see as we go on that, having emerged from the ethereal kingdom, blessed and bulwarked by all the beauty and all the true indivisible substance of that kingdom, we enter into the command of God, "Let there be light." As we emerge into the sidereal kingdom, the kingdom of light, which is dealt with in the second of these 50 little books. Anyone who has thought for a moment sees how very, very little light it takes to disperse and dispel great darkness. Even if the darkness of the human mind has extended for 1,000 years, one brilliant, flashing moment of intuition can dispel it. What words I use! What is intuition? Do you not see that intuition is that unbreakable thread that leads us back and back and back, and establishes us as by an anchor, holding us right through all the kingdoms until we come to what we are today in the human kingdom? And I say that as sons of light, we are able to look back and we are able to look forward. Let us measure our nature, our power, our being, not by the despair and doubt and sorrow and darkness of our minds, but by love, by inspiration, by light, by all that wondrous, imaginable, and indefinable something that cannot be downed within our spirit. K. All is transition, evolution. Time was when we were all that we can see in the subhuman kingdoms, but today we are members of the human kingdom, made, as I hope we can see clearly, in the image. What is the purpose of our living? As you look around the human kingdom today, is what you see the purpose of a human being's life? Consult your own heart as you are now doing, and you know as you consult your heart, the very highest in you gives the lie to what you see. Just as we look around in what we might call the outer universe, into what we might call the heavens, and see all the mystery and all the magic and all the wonder with which the heavens are full, so we must be patient as we look out upon this earth. All is in a state of transition, of evolution. And if you be better than your brother, and if in looking into your brother's life you see negation or darkness, or something you would rather not see, where does that exist? It exists within thyself. It means that the very memory of the spirit of you is showing you that not yet have you yourself fried the seeds of that particular kind of negation. When once human beings everywhere come to that state where they are able to look out upon the all that is in nothing but reverence and peace and harmony and goodwill and true compassion, we shall see all the abundance and splendor and the beauty and the peace and all the unimaginable wonders of truth that lie beneath our feet and within ourselves.